Welcome to one of the many circle sessions hosted by Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls is a nationwide classrooms movement. We bring relatable female role models into classroom settings through our circle sessions. As you will see, the crux of these sessions is its dialogic nature. We're currently working with classrooms across 7 Indian cities and continuing to grow. Our aim is for every adolescent in India to have access to relatable female role models. I welcome you once again and hope you enjoy learning from our role models' life journey and career path.
So, welcome Shravya. Welcome to Hyderabad virtually. And just a quick introduction for the students. Shravya is a professional photographer based in Brooklyn, New York, and she has born and raised in Vijayawada, which is in India. She moved to Brooklyn in 2015, graduated from the School of Visual Arts with an MPS in photography. So, Shravya, can you tell us about yourself a little bit more?
I think that was pretty good introduction. I'm Shravya. I was born and raised in Vijayawada. That's only like 3 hours from Hyderabad. I did my bachelor's in engineering, and then I did not like engineering, but I finished the course anyway. And then I did a master's in visual communications, broadcast communications in Madras. And I worked as a photographer, copywriter, videographer for 4 years, 2011 to 2015, 4 years. I had my own wedding photography company. And yeah, so I was working with my wedding photography company. Me and my business partner, and I had a team of 3 people. And then I was visiting New York for a year because my brother lived here. And then I fell in love with the city. And I thought I had to pursue photography again as a master's course in New York City, just for global exposure and to hone my skills even better. So I moved to New York in 2015 for a master's in photography. I graduated in 2016, and I've been working as a photographer for the last 4 or 5 years here in New York. That's a longer intro.
Harsh,
Okay, yes. I keep forgetting that I'm on mute. And
okay.
yeah, so we have conducted some Google Forms, and there are so many questions from student side, and we have compiled them into some questions. So
Yeah.
Kirti will share her PPT, and we'll ask one by one questions.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Thank you so much, Harsh, and once again, welcome, Shravya. Like, so happy and excited to have you here. Few of you are here out of interest. Few are here maybe just looking forward to making career in photography. So your inputs would be valuable here, and just looking forward to that. So we have a few questions that we have asked from students. Before we go to students asking individual questions, I'll just share those so that the bigger picture or the main purpose of the session is served, and then we'll open Q&A session for the students where they can ask individual questions which might not have been asked among the ones which are there in the Google form. So just setting norm for the space, children. Everyone here, I would request you all to be on mute and one of us are speaking so that any disturbance or background noise does not disturb the whole session. Secondly, just use the chat box wisely, right? Put your questions. Feel free to ask whatever you have regarding photography, whatever you want to know from Shravya, Didi, if I can call her, because kids are very used to calling us Didi Bhaiya. So yeah, just out of love. So yes, feel free to use chat box, but make sure we use it for a purposeful conversation that is to learn, right? And with that, we have a diverse group of students here, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. So I'm also hoping we'll have questions from this excited bunch. We'll just share the PPTs for more clarity. When the questions are put here, you will have a better view.
Hi, Didi.
Hi.
What am I doing? Sorry. Yes. So with that, let's begin. And first, among all, just would like you to express a little what is about photography that is so different, and maybe why should what made you go into photography, and how did you choose it over other career pathways?
Yeah, I'll answer the second question first and then go to the first. I chose photography from the process of elimination. So I was interested in music, I was interested in writing, and then I was interested in photography. So I was when I was pursuing my master's in Chennai in broadcast communications, I was trying to learn audio production. I was also interning with an advertising agency as a copywriter. I did not like the desk job as a copywriter, and then I wasn't very technically adept to pursue audio production. And as I was working at this recording studio trying to learn audio production, there was a music band that was playing. So I just clicked photographs of them, and those photographs ended up in the CEO of that company, and he liked those photographs. And I also really enjoyed taking those photos. So that's how I kind of knew that I wanted to take photography as a full-time career as opposed to the other two. So that's, yeah, to sum it up, like process of elimination, that's how I knew what I wanted to do um, as a more serious. It's not like I've abandoned music and writing. I still do some writing, but it's just like choosing one path to follow uh, with the other paths converging. How photography is different from other career pathways, I think yeah, it's a very philosophical question. Um, you like the entire information, all the information you consume from news, from Instagram, from Facebook, from even when you meet your friends in real life, their body language, how they talk to you, everything is visual. So photography in that way as a career pathway, or even as a hobby, or even as an art form, is different from others because you are trained to see the world in a different way, and once you have that shift in your mind, you cannot go back to seeing the world in the way you used to see. So even small things like the amount of light that falls on your school backpack when you're going on your friend's school backpack when you're going to school, or like waking up in the morning and watching the sunrise in your room from east to west, and how the light changes on your bed. um, these are things that you see, but this is also like the beauty in daily life that you see that not many people notice. So you are more observant of the society, you're more observant of your daily life. So once you're more observant of the society, you see what's happening and you see the truth. And that's photography as a tool is also helpful for you to document that truth and present it to present it to the world. So in that way, I think it's different from our other career pathways.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's just so beautiful, right? Like your love and passion for photography is coming so much alive. And just how you spoke about the elimination part, like how you ended up choosing photography is when you were clear about this is not what I want with my life. This is not what I want to do. That doesn't excite me. And that excitement you found in photography. So thank you for sharing that. Next, what are the skills and mindsets would be required by a photographer?
Um, the skills, there are like hard skills and soft skills. The hard skills would be technical skills, just operating a camera, lighting, studio lighting, natural lighting, flash, yeah, everything technical related to photography. But once you master the technical part, for you to be a good photographer, soft skills and for you to have that eye is very important. And so by soft skills, I mean communication, talking, negotiating, impressing the client with your first pitch, telling them why they should hire you, and telling them what you can provide to them. as an added value or as an added benefit over the other photographers. Yeah, so that's like communication skills are very important. I am still working on that. 5 years into photography, I'm still working on my negotiating and communication with the clients. When it comes to mindset, or like what I described, the photographic eye, you're just hyper observant of everything in your society, everything in your daily life. Like I mentioned in the first answer, you're just even when I'm talking to you, like my screen is the PPT, and then I have like four here, and then I can observe that there's a mirror behind you, there's like light reflecting on that mirror. So it's just those small details in the frame that you're seeing, so you just see the world in these frames. That's the kind of mindset you're required to have a photographer. I remember when I started off by teaching myself photography, and then I learned photography at schools. So when I was teaching myself photography, the best I don't remember who said this, but the best advice I got was, leave your camera at home and go for a walk and see the world as if you have a camera in your hand. So I used to do that a lot. I used to go for walks, but then I was like, if I have a camera, what would I photograph? So in that way, I was inculcating this mindset of the mindset that is required by a photographer, to see the world in frames and to see the light in each frame.
Right. I'm just putting also on the chat box for students if they want to make notes. So I'm listening communication and observation, particularly how it's important, and mindset of just how you're very observant of everything around you. Thank you for sharing again that. So is photography a talent? Like, do you think a person is just born with it, maybe, or can anyone learn it? And if yes, how? How can we start from it? Start it with?
I'm so impressed. All of these are very philosophical. Good questions. Great questions, actually. Um, I am a person who believes that there are two kinds of talent. One, you're born with it, or two, you nurture it. So either way, anyone can learn it. So if you're born with the gift of watching, like seeing the world in a different way, then you're born with the talent of being a photographer. Or you can nurture the talent of, like, I don't know if I'm born with it or I nurtured it, but I like to believe that I nurtured it. I started photographing when I was 19 or 20. So I was definitely not, I don't know, like I don't think I was born with it, because I didn't like pick up a camera at six when I was 6 or 7 years old. A lot of photographers, a lot of famous photographers, when you ask how they started, they started much earlier. They picked up their camera around 7, 8 years old, and it's most probably it's usually their father's camera or grandfather's camera. So I started photographing because I was not enjoying engineering, so I wanted a creative outlet, and so I started photographing with my cell phone camera, not even a proper camera. So I think like I said, like I went for walks and I was just like photographing plants and leaves and sunrise and sunset. So I definitely nurtured the talent of being a photographer, or the photographic eye. So is photography a talent, or can anyone learn it? Anyone can learn it. If yes, how? You learn it like any other skill or subject that you learn. Uh, Math or English, you open the textbook, you learn, and then you close the textbook, and then you revise everything. So it's the same thing. You have the phone camera, you click, and then you put the camera away, and then you think of what you clicked, and then you think of why you clicked what you clicked, because that's very important as well. And then you go back to the photos, and then you see what's good and what's bad. Yeah.
Right. Makes so much sense. Like, and this is something I will say for all the students. If you feel like I don't know yet, it's all about learning and practicing and just being very observant around you, just having the and urge like, this is looking good to me. Maybe I should just document, click it.
Yeah.
So now many of the students don't, and not, as you also shared, not everyone has a DSLR camera. So can we learn photography through mobile? Or do we
Yeah, most definitely. I learned photography through mobile, so I'm like a living example of that. My first, I don't even remember my first camera, but all my initial cameras were Sony. Sony Xperia, the very first model. This was 2007. Yeah, 2007, 2006, 2007. So yeah, I learned photography through mobile. So the answer is S. Yes, you can learn. How? Yeah, I guess like I'll just explain how I started learning and then try to draw answers from that. I wasn't even technical when I was starting to learn photography. I just photographed what felt good. In that way, like I said, like you're observant of the external society and daily life and what's happening, and you're also observant inside. You're observant of what makes you feel good, and you're observant of what you don't like. So I just like woke up 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then like walked and took like sun. If I like sunrises and sunset. I used to, like, I still do, but I used to photograph a lot of sunrise. So I did that. I photographed a lot of leaves and flowers. That's what you do when you're starting out. I photographed, like I used to sit and wait. This is with my phone camera. I used to sit and wait right next to the flower and wait for a butterfly to like land on the flower, and then like I click. So yeah, you can definitely learn photography through mobile. So this is the inculcating, like I said, this is the inculcating the photographic eye part of it. As when it comes to technical part of learning photography, you can learn it through mobile. Just have like internet connection, go to YouTube, type smartphone photography. There are many YouTube tutorials, many YouTube tutorials that teach you how to click photos through smartphones. And then when you have the time and the budget to invest in your photographic career, or even your photographic hobby or your photographic art outlet, you can then proceed to have a point and shoot camera or a DSLR camera and then learn it. But yeah, you can definitely start by learning through mobile photography.
Right. So no worries. Everyone has mobile in their hand. I think just clicking more and more pictures and maybe keep practicing. And there's so much on internet now, right? YouTube works wonders too. Great. So what challenges have you faced as a photographer when you took it up as a career? Because it is unique in its own way, not the mainstream work. So yeah.
Like you said, it's not mainstream, so it was hard. Yeah, it was a little hard for me to convince my parents when I wanted to pursue a master's in broadcast communications, which also had photography as a subject in the course. So just to make it clear, like my master's in broadcast communication was 3 semesters. We dealt with film production, audio production, and TV production. So it's a lot of we had subjects like copywriting, script writing, developing advertising campaigns, and then audiography, photography, and videography. So it's just kind of like an overview of everything that happens in media. So that was my master's, and the challenge I faced to even pursue that, the biggest block was convincing my family. And once they got convinced, and once they were like, yeah, okay, like do whatever you want, the next challenge was to building a career as a photographer. So there's the challenge of establishing yourself as a photographer. It takes at least like 1 to 2 years to get into the field and have like consistent clients. Yeah.
Kakak, ini kan enggak kan bisa ya.
Should I answer that?
Yes.
Or
Yes. No, you can go ahead.
um, I'm in New York. నేను న్యూయార్క్లో ఉన్నా.
Acha. Yeah. We all will have like time, a lot of time, I would say, to ask any questions you have. Or put on the chat box. We can take it up for sure.
I think
Yeah.
I think someone else asked something else. Yeah, but the challenges one faces as a photographer is establishing. It's like think of it as a business. So when you're establishing a business, all the challenges that come in the first 2 years of establishing a business, you have to establish yourself as a someone trustworthy. You have to establish that you're talented enough to have like consistent clients and people hire you. You have to establish your financial goals essentially. So I think that was my challenge personally. It took me, I think it took me around like 6 months when I was in India. When I started my wedding photography company, it took me around like 6 to 7 months to stabilize my business, and then I closed all of that, uprooted my entire life, and then moved to New York. So it took me 2 years here to establish myself as a freelance photographer and just not live from paycheck to paycheck. So yeah, I think that's convincing your family, because this is not a mainstream career, and then as a establishing yourself in a photography career. Those are the two biggest challenges.
Right. So just a follow-up questions, because this was asked by one of the students. How did you overcome these challenges? Like, what keeps you going? Where do you drive that inspiration or motivation? Since it's related, I would like to pick it up here itself.
Yeah, that's a good follow-up question. How did I overcome convincing my parents? I think when I was in India, it was easier for me to convince them, because like I only moved from Vijayawada to Chennai. Chennai is only 6 hours from home, and they're like, oh, like it's okay. Like she's still close to us, and she's pursuing something she likes, and it's okay. And then when I told them that I'm gonna like set up a wedding photography company, they were still not very hesitant about it, because they're like, oh, she's still pursuing what she likes. She can shuffle between, like I used to do up and down trips from Vijayawada to Chennai or wherever people call me and hire me for weddings. And most of the weddings that I photographed were in Vijayawada, and they happened through word of mouth. So that kind of like convincing my parents was easier. But when I told them that I would move to New York, 5,000 miles from Vijayawada, they just did not, like they were not having it at all. So I think I overcame that challenge by like making a PowerPoint presentation of what would happen if I moved to New York. I remember I sent a long email to my father saying, this is why I want to move to New York, like bullet points. Like, this is why I want to move to New York. This is what will happen if I move to New York. This is what I want to do if I move to New York. And then all of them had the same question, what about marriage? And I was like, I'm going to think about this in like so and so timeline in these many years. I'm not going to think about marriage right now. So I kind of gave them, because I gave them that email, that very structured email and kind of like a PowerPoint presentation, they understood that they understood that A, I'm serious about this, and B, like I know what I'm doing, and C, like I know my goals. This is just not like I woke up in the morning and then I was like, I'm going to New York. It's not like that. It's something I thought about and something I planned. I had like a 5-year plan. So I overcame convincing my parents by having a structure, or like a goal-oriented structure. Yeah, and the other challenge is overcoming establishing yourself as a photographer, and just like overcoming financial barriers as a photographer. I think I overcame that. Again, like it was fairly easier for me when I was in India, because Vijayawada is my hometown, and when people came to know that I am a photographer, they started hiring me because they were just so excited. Oh, it's a like female photographer, like we like her, like she's one of us, she grew up among us, so we're just gonna hire her. So that was, word of mouth was a big up in my business career as a photographer. After I moved to New York, I had to go to many networking events, and this is where communication skills come into play. Like you have to go to networking events and you have to basically sell yourself as a photographer, present yourself as a photographer. So that was a little hard for me, being I'm a little like shy introverted person, so like going to parties or going to social networking events and saying I'm a photographer, like hire me, like I'm very talented and this and that and that, that was a little hard for me. But also like that is still something I'm working on, communication skills and just talking to people and presenting yourself, branding yourself. Yeah, you're essentially like, when Mahesh Babu goes to film fair events, he's not like shy, he's just like he's very confident in who he is as an actor. So I guess you overcome that challenge of establishing yourself in the photographic career by being very comfortable and confident in who you are as a photographer, um, and just branding, thinking about your brand and presenting yourself, having strong communication skills so that you can establish yourself as a talented person and people can hire you. I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it does. So I'm listening just to summarize for students, like just believing in yourself and putting out that strongly convincing parents, like I know what I'm doing and I'm
Yeah.
very serious about it, makes them also believe in you. And just then again, when it comes to now what? Okay, fine, permission mil gayi. Now, how do you build yourself as a so just being confident about who you are and selling yourself as a photographer that look, my work is of value. I think that takes a lot of determination, but it's so important. And I think
Yeah.
that's how we overcome a lot of challenges in life in general too. Thank you for
That's
sharing that. Gives so much perspective. Couple more questions. That's it. How much money does a photographer makes on an average? Wouldn't want you to be very personal, but just so a student like have a general understanding of, um, yeah, like what would they get out of it? Because at the end of the day, it matters.
Ooh, this is kind of like a hard question to answer because there are many types of photography. I am here in New York. I'm a documentary and portrait photographer. Documentary and portrait photography has okay, yeah. So let me just first explain the many types of photography. There's documentary photography, there's photojournalism, there's fashion photography, there's commercial photography, there's advertising photography, and then there's real estate photography, portrait photography, editorial photography. So these are 7 types. The industry that has or kind of has the most money is advertising photography and fashion photography and commercial photography. These are the photographs that you see when you see ads, when you see advertisements, or when you see when you open a magazine and you see models for posing for the camera. Advertising and fashion photography, that's where the most money is, the most budget is. So if you're a fashion photographer, if you're an advertising photographer or a commercial photographer, by commercial I mean you're photographing the posters for films, or you're photographing yeah, commercial and advertising are kind of similar. So these 3 are where the most money is at. I am neither of those. So if you want to be rich as a photographer, then like you pursue either advertising, fashion, or commercial photography. I am a documentary photographer. I'm also like a photojournalist. I'm a portrait photographer. So these 3, and then like there are these 3: documentary, portrait, photojournalism, and portrait. But photojournalism, I mean, you're photographing for newspapers, publications. You're essentially providing the photos that you see in the news. So that doesn't have much money. So on an average, yeah, so this is why it's hard to answer this question, because I cannot average out everything. I can give you the details on like how much I used to earn. Weddings have a lot of money, so if you also want to um, have kind of like a sustainable career in photography, weddings would also be an option. That was why I started with wedding photography, because I knew weddings had a lot of money, and I knew, for me, my passion is documentary photography. My goal is to photograph have documentaries, photo essays, and documentary videos. But I started with wedding photography because I knew that's where the money is. And so the idea was to have this money coming from wedding photography and invest in my personal documentary photography projects. So in India, also, like, I mean, I'm not counting the inflation and how the rates went up for over the last 6 years. So when I started out in India, that was 2014. I photographed my first wedding for 80,000 rupees. Yeah. So I cannot average it. So I'm just like giving you the details of like, oh, this is my first wedding. This is so that was 2014. I photographed it, my first wedding. Like we were a team of two. So I got 80,000 rupees to my hand for work of, I worked for, the wedding was 7 days. And then after that, the post-production and editing for everything took 20 days. So it's almost like a month of work. So that was the first wedding. My last wedding. So also to give you an idea of how like I've kind of like increased my rates, because like experience, talent, word of mouth, and clients liking your work, and they invest in you more. So 2013, and then 2015 was my last wedding. I don't even remember, but I think I'm guessing that budget for two of us, 7 day wedding, was around 4 lakhs, I think. Yeah, not two of us, sorry, 7 of us. So in this span of 2.5 years, we went from two of us to having a team of 7. Um, yeah. So yeah, those are the details I can give. Like I cannot average the money you can make as a photographer.
Yeah, makes sense. So we understand like a little more research has to be done. I mean, you need to have in-depth knowledge or idea. What are the different kinds of photographies are there, and everything pays differently. But one thing that's standing out for me is the better you're a photographer, the better, the more goodwill you have as a person, the more money might come to your in your hand. But there's
Yeah.
good money. There is good money provided you establish yourself as a good photographer. If you really click good pictures, then I think you don't have to worry about money so much.
Yeah, there's definitely money in photography. Like even when I say I'm a documentary photographer in photojournalism, there's not much money in this. I can always have the option of, my main career is documentary photography, but if I click one advertising client per month, then like I'm good for like 6 months, and then like I can go back to having more documentary projects. So that's why it's important for you to learn different kinds of photography so that you can switch. So like now during COVID, my business has gotten hit. Like it's kind of like slow right now, but there's some weddings going on, and people hired me for weddings, even though like I'm a documentary and portrait photographer, because I worked in weddings. I know how to photograph weddings, and weddings pay well. So that's kind of like how you move funding to the business. You're essentially just, yeah, it essentially feels like you're playing Tetris with your career. Yeah.
Right. So another popular question was, can I take up photography with another career? Let's say if this is not the only way, not an established way to make up a career, can maybe like just a hobby? And what does that look like then?
As a hobby, yes, definitely you can take up photography with another career. Again, like this is like this like there are multiple answers to this. My personal belief is, if you're taking up photography as a career, then you're essentially taking up photography as an art form. So there's only, if you're an artist, you're an artist. There's no other parallel that you can pursue along with photography. But as a hobby, if you're a software engineer and you want to be like a hobbyist photographer, then yes, you can definitely take up photography as a parallel or even as a creative outlet to your 9 to 5 desk job. But if you are an artist, then you cannot like go back to, you cannot go back to being a software engineer, because like that's
Right.
this is why I say this is a personal answer. Like I
Yes.
was an engineer, I cannot imagine myself going back to engineering at all. So the answer is yes to that.
Right. Um, yeah, so as an hobby, yes, but I think when you are so inclined towards photography, then another career doesn't make much sense. And there's so much art form here, your creation. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's a personal choice, right? Like otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up question here, like how much would a photography equipment cost? Like if you're a photographer, what is your cost of expenditure there?
So your initial investment would be around would be for cameras and a laptop to edit all the photos. So your initial investment would be around, again, my numbers are 4 years, 5 years old, so exclude inflation from that. Yeah, so initial investment would be around like 4 lakhs.
Okay.
But this 4 lakhs, like when you buy a camera, the camera itself would last you for almost 4 years or 5 years. So yeah, you should think about it as a, yeah, when people say it takes so much and so much, it takes so much to invest in a business in photography, you should see that as you're essentially investing in yourself. You're investing in your dream, you're investing in your like either your dream or your passion or something that makes you happy. So you should see that investment as you're investing in yourself, and you'll definitely be able to pay it back in maybe 2 years, like irrespective of how established or not you are. You're definitely going to be able to pay it back. If that sounds like a big number,
Hmm.
it's still worth the investment. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. So on an average, it's 4 5 lakhs, but it is an investment for a longer period of time. And
Yeah.
over the time, the cost gets spreads, right? Like you keep earning also with that. So,
Yeah.
all right. That gives an idea though. Last
Yeah.
question from our side though. And then I'm sure students have a lot of questions, mostly around photography tips. Kids being kids, they just want to know like about any value that up to them. So are there any courses that you would like to suggest to learn photography, like to just become a professional, from where they can start learning it from?
I would definitely suggest to start learning it first from YouTube or like from the internet first. So when you start learning from the internet, like I said, you will get to know what you like and what you don't like.
Hmm.
And then you can make the decision if you want to take up courses in India or abroad in photography. In India, I think there's in Ooty, the Light and Life Academy in Ooty. There's one school in Goa. Mumbai has a lot of good photographic schools. JJ School of Applied Arts, TIFF, something in TIFF, TIS in Mumbai. Yeah, any arts university in India or private photographic schools are good. But again, like I said, for you to make this decision, you should first start by learning photography on the internet and teaching yourself photography, because there's no better teacher than yourself. If you see yourself waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning just to like walk and take photographs, then it shows that you like doing that. And if you keep doing that, then it shows that you want to do that for an extended period of time. And when you realize that you want to do it for an extended period of time, then you make the decision that you want it as a career. So um yeah, just googling on YouTube or like finding courses on YouTube is great.
Right. So for now, maybe since they are students and they just want to maybe start up, hence just exploring the internet, the world is at your fingertip there, and Googling stuff, research on your own, where you can look at many of the YouTube videos to learn few tips and tricks, right?
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. All right. From my side, that is all. These are all the questions that we had. Now, I'm sure students have a few. And yeah, just like they're very curious. They're very curious. They're very excited because photography is like, yay. It's a lot of kind of catharsis, also, kind of when it gives you
Yeah.
that feel. So I would ask students now either come off mute to share any question which you have, or you can put that on the chat box. And for that, please raise your hand just so that everyone is heard. And we have, if my math is correct, yeah, 18 more minutes. So we will use this time as in the best possible. Sanya, you can begin first.
So, Didi, I wanted to ask that when you were for doing photography, what should we study? Like, which thing should we do? Like, after doing college, or what thing should we choose to do photography?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good question. After college, you can, to do photography after college, you can take a master's in arts, master's in visual communications, broadcast communications, or you can also, if you find just photograph specific courses, you can take up photographic specific courses. These are bachelor's in photography or bachelor, yeah, or 1 year courses in photography. But I personally would suggest taking up bachelor's in visual communications as a foundation, and then you can decide whether to take a master's in photography, or you can decide to pursue something else. Yeah.
Yeah, so Sneha wants to know what's the difference between a photographer and an artist? Like a part of drawing and them taking pictures, like artist maybe draws and photographer takes pictures. What's the difference? How would you describe a photographer maybe?
Oh my God, that is such a good question. I need to think about it. um, so so when you say artist, you're referring to a painter. So a painter uses, like, it's, yeah, the main difference is the medium that you're using to express. So essentially any art form is used for you to express what you're feeling. So in photography, you're expressing what you're feeling, or you're expressing what you're seeing with the help of a medium called the camera or called the photograph. When you're a painter, when you're a painter, then the medium changes. You're expressing what you're feeling, or you're expressing what you're seeing with the help of like a background canvas, and then paints and colors. And also it's the different kinds of painting: oil color, watercolor paintings, oil pastel paintings, crayons. Like I have, like, I don't have much knowledge in painting. So but then, yeah, the main difference is the medium of expression. And then yeah, I guess that's the main difference.
Right. So it's just yeah, I missed it somewhere. I'm so sorry. I was typing. I'm really sorry about it. I wish you
I just said
you
it's
could
medium of
summarize.
expression. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's just how we express ourselves that comes out alive in photography.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more or less the same though. Like would consider both as an artist because they create art. Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as the definition goes, yeah, that would be the difference. Another question for you. What do you learn from photography, apart of clicking pictures, as a person or maybe anything for that matter? What did you learn?
Oh, these are some good questions. What did I learn? Oh my God. So apart from clicking pictures, I learned, like I said, I learned seeing the world in an entirely different way. Um, I I also learned a lot about myself. I learned that I'm a very shy, introverted person. I learned a lot about what scares me, what fears me. I learned a lot about things I respond to, like things I react. Um, what did you learn about yourself as a photographer?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah.
when you are, it's your work which helps you learn who you are as a person. I think that
Yeah.
is such a strong tool, right? Your
Yeah.
emotions, what you like, what you don't like, and again comes out the way you click pictures. So it just improves your work, and learning about ourselves, I feel, is never easy. So
Yeah.
photography, yeah. So if you could just elaborate on that, what are the few things which have you learned about yourself from photography, which have changed you as a person or made you a better person, a better version of yourself?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, like the most important thing I knew, like I learned a lot of things about myself. And I think one of the most important part of that was I learned that I kind of like shifted up until 2016, 2017. Whatever I was doing as a photographer was for myself. Like I wanted to build a photographic career. Like I want to do this, then this, and this, and that. But then I think in 2016, something shifted, and I was like, what can I do to the society? Like what? How can my art form help the society progress? How what kind of photographs can I make so that the society sees these and then they kind of get influenced. Um, so this is where I say like this is what I mean when I say documentary photography. So you're essentially documenting an issue or a culture that people don't know, and you're spreading the news about this. Most the most famous photographs in the world are kind of like news photographs or documentary photographs that helped people understand an issue and contribute or like fund that issue. There's I'm sure you must have seen photos of uh, like their world hunger, like poverty is a global issue, and poverty came to the mainstream media, not mainstream media, but like poverty was recognized, or poverty was recognized as a global issue because of photographs, because of photographs of like a malnutrition kid right next to an eagle. I'm not like, you must have seen this viral photo. It's like a really small kid right next to an eagle. So that photo is visually so striking that you think about poverty and you think about hunger, and you want to think about how you can contribute either money or time or skills to the society to end like world poverty. So I think that was one of the biggest things I learned in my career. I think it kind of like shifted for me from how I can build a career to how I can contribute to the society. That was the biggest thing I learned.
Right, that's so powerful, right? Just how a picture hits that chord in us
Yeah.
and just spreads the humanity. I mean, there are
Yeah.
so many problems, so many issues, but how do we make people feel or aware about it? And
Yeah.
photography, thanks for sharing that. I do remember that picture so well, and it gives goosebumps to just feel it, right? Thank you for that. Tips and tricks, everyone is very much around that. Fahim wants to ask something. Okay, before that, Fahim, please go ahead. You're raising your hand. So, huh.
Didi, why do
Yeah.
why do you want to be a photographer and another job there na Didi?
I want to be a photographer because I like photography, and also this is the only thing I know. um, but also, like I believe in myself that like my photographic eye or my talent is important for the world. The way I see the world is very important for the world to experience, and what I contribute to like I very strongly believe that what I contribute to the society can make a change in the society. And so that's why I believe in the power of photography and the power, like in the power of my photographic eye. So yes, like I can, like, because I'm an engineer, maybe like I can try and go get a software or like electrical engineering, some job in electrical engineering tomorrow. But I think if I do that, then I'm not I still am contributing to the society, but I think I'm not contributing to the society to my fullest potential. So as a human being, you have to like always think about what's the best potential that you can be at, I think, and my best potential is me being a photographer. So I hope that made sense.
Happy.
Thank you, Didi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's another question. So the kids, or we in general, people do face few challenges, right? And one being parents allowing girls especially to just move out a lot. So to be a photographer, is it really necessary to move to a lot of places? Like as you also shared, if it was Chennai, it was with your parents, but just when they heard New York, it is not that a comfortable conversation that we can have with them. So is it really necessary to move to different places? And what if you can give a message, how can people overcome such challenges when they have to convince their parents regarding this? Maybe what did you do again when you had to convince them about moving so far away? Because out of safe, whatever concern, it becomes a challenge, especially for girls.
So I think yes, it's important for you to move to different cities and different places to either pursue your photographic career or like either or develop your photography projects. So yeah, the answer to the first question would be yes, you have to like move to different places. Even if you have a base in one city, you still have to like have the option of traveling to different places to just explore and expand as a person, but also to photograph what's happening in those places. So as a female, as a woman, and convincing your parents, like I said, you have to convince them that you are very serious and very clear about what you want, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a list of it has like I gave a PowerPoint presentation, so I think I advocate for PowerPoint presentations in families. So like you definitely, because I think parents are impressed by structure, so if they see that you have a structure in your life, then it's easier for you to convince them saying I am serious about this. You don't necessarily have to achieve everything that you give in the PowerPoint presentation. I told them that I'll achieve like 5 things, and I achieved only like I don't know like 3 things out of that. But there's still time, like I can still go and work on those. So even if you like don't be afraid, even if you don't know what you want. It's also like it's really easy to know what you don't want. And so like I said, it's the process of elimination was a biggest a big factor in my decision making. So convincing your parents, you should approach them like you approach any teacher. When you think of your career as a subject, and you're submitting your and you're meeting with your parents as an exam. So you have to like read upon your subject, and then you have to like go to your teacher and then present it in either in a notebook or a PowerPoint presentation or an email. Yeah, as an essay answer.
Yeah. I think communication is really standing out here. Like, how do you communicate and express yourself for what you really want to do? And just standing your ground there. And at times, a conversation might be even more tough, even tougher, uh, bearing context. But if you are sure about yourself as a photographer and really wants to make a career in it, then
Yeah.
maybe it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
Kil, you have an interesting question, which is like asked thrice. Who is your teacher? So, do you want to know from whom Didi learned photography?
Yes, Didi.
I learned photography, like I said, like when I was 19, 20 years old. I was just Googling random YouTube videos. And then there are a couple of photographers in India. There's a photographer named Raghu Rai. Again, like I was on Google, I typed in Raghu Rai, and I was like seeing all his photographs. And then there are a couple of photographers outside India. Magnum Photography is a photo agency, and they have good photography. Like they have like well-established photographers, world-renowned photographers. So I was just looking at their photography and just thinking to myself, like, why did they take that photo and not any other photo? So yeah, I think to answer the question, I self-taught myself photography. So I was my teacher.
Yes. Lastly, we have 3 minutes, and I would really like just leave it here for you. If possible, could you give some tips and tricks for students on how to click pictures? Maybe they'll start away right now, if possible. Yeah, I know that's not like about career per se, but if you can.
Yeah. I think when you're clicking pictures, like the easiest, the first and foremost tips and tricks, observe if this is the frame. If this is the frame, always look at the corners of the frame and make sure that the corners of the frame are clean. By clean, I mean there's no like, if this is the frame, there's no something like something like this sticking out. There are no like external objects. So make sure that it's a clean frame. So the another tip or trick would be see for lines. So, like I can see some of the videos.
दीदी एडिटर हम जो भी दीदी अपन जी पिक्चर किस लो who are you
Yes, Vinay. Okay.
Yeah, so the second trip would be to observe lines. I can see the video of Fahim. Like Fahim is like, I think he's in an apartment complex. So if Fahim like steps out, he sees the lines in the apartment complex. So that's a good composition tip and trick to always observe and photograph lines in any pattern. Um, Another tip and trick would be, if you have any camera, always expose it to any phone camera. Always expose. By expose, I mean if you click on the screen, then it exposes the frame to a particular. Always expose the frame to the brightest spot in the frame. So when your frame is like this and there's a bunch of buildings and everything, and then there's a sun here, just click on the sun so that the photo is exposed correctly, and then you can take the photo.
Yeah, I don't know how to put the last point, but just having a
Okay.
clean frame, not
Yeah.
getting your hands or something in between, and the lines and grid. Usually, you'll have a grid on the on the mobile camera, right? That gives us structure. And lastly, just get the light and stuff. And I think with this, you can start off, and from here on, just observe different photographers, what the work they are doing, and different photography. Do research on your own also, right? Different photos, when you see key, what is different in this photo than what I clicked. And I think it's just with practice and with feedback that one improves.
Yeah.
Students are so excited, Didi, when we are going to have the next class. I don't think so we'll have, but we'll see to it.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to.
All right. With that, it's 5:30 exactly. So we'll not take any questions, but that was a great session and amazing questions from students. Lastly, it's just a big thank you from us. But before we all leave, can I request each one of you, and really please come on video so that we can click a beautiful picture with my minimum photography skills, as much as my laptop permits me. I would
Yeah,
do
and that will be a virtual photograph,
Yes.
like the screenshot actually.
Yeah, Harsh and I both will click. Let's see who clicks. Good one here. Anyway, we'll wait for 30 seconds, students. Like just click on your video cam and please come on video. Would love to have everyone in the frame. And we have two screens, so pause as you are, like be a statue with a big cheesy smile so that we can get a lovely picture. Yes. Ready, Harsh? Okay. I thought you will come on video.
Yes, I'm already clicking.
All right. 1 second, one more second. Amazing.
Oh, I see so many cameras.
Yes.
No.
All right, it's 5:31. Shravya, once again, can't thank you enough for the time that you have spent with us and the amazing inputs and that you have shared with us. And thank you for sharing so much about you. It's truly inspiring. I think students will be leaving, and I say this on behalf of everyone, students will be leaving with a lot of excitement and inspiration. And I hope they explore photography more. I, as a person, individually also love photography. No, I haven't thought about it as a career per se, but do click it as a hobby. So thank you so much for today. Any last words you have for us? Yeah.
And thank you for summarizing my answers in like you were great. That was perfect.
Yeah, those are just some teacher tips and tricks if you want. We just do it for students so that they understand it. Yeah. All right. We can start dropping off students. Thank you so much for joining us.
చూడు కత్తి చూసుకోవాలా
It's a crazy virtual world. Yes, students, you can drop off. Yeah.
Ma'am,
If you have anything to tell for Didi, you can put it on the chat box and also leave.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Neha.
When is the next class, ma'am? Next section.
Yeah, like if they schedule, I can take a session.
They loved it so much.
Yes, this section is too good. So I want next section also.
So Shravya Didi has told you about her journey till now. Now it is your duty to explore you about you. What is your interest? Okay. So Sneha and all the other who are present here, now it is your time to explore.
That's a great answer.
Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to leave. Um, but yeah, Shravya, thank you so much for your.
Thank you.
It
Thank you.
took 3 more minutes. Slightly apologizing for that.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just responding to everyone on the chat saying thank you, thank you.
Oh well, if you stay here, they're gonna stay here. Like that, there's
okay.
wait.
So then, okay,
So
yeah.
one
So
more
I,
thing.
I just have to end the
Kids.
meeting then.
Yeah,
All
one
right.
more thing for the kids. I forgot to tell this. After the session, we will fill one Google form also. So I will send it on the WhatsApp groups, and you will have to just fill it about what you experienced in this session and how you liked it or not liked it, and what did you learned about photography in the session. Yeah.
Yeah. I think many of I so anyway will just
Yeah.
explain
I
on
will send.
WhatsApp group.
Yes. No problem.
All right, can I end it then?
Didi,
No. Yes, Muzaffar.
can we see some of your photos?
Okay, small request, Shravya, if you could share a few of your photos, maybe students can start exploring
Yeah,
photography
so
there.
many students have asked for.
So many of them asked, so maybe you can just send a couple of them and we'll share it with the students if possible.
Do I have to send them here or can I WhatsApp it to you? Or how does this work?
Whatever works for you.
I can WhatsApp the images. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Didi.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. Okay, bye everyone. I'm ending the meeting here. Harsh, shall we?
Yes. Everything is recorded. Thank you, Shravya,
Oh,
for your
yes.